We are back here on the Lynn Hates Freeland Show. My guest today is Blaine Jones. No agenda and no filter. No agenda, no filter. Blaine Jones. That's kind of scary.
That's fun. I uncrossed my legs, by the way. My leg was falling asleep.
Oh, okay.
Do you like Blaine Jones with the cross leg?
I don't know, because
you
you always have on fancy socks.
I know,
so
I know. My wife and
Thanks
kids.
to your wife.
See?
Yeah, she takes care of that. Yeah.
Or uncrossed. We're going to do uncrossed so I can get some blood flow back.
Okay, there you go. All right, now I want to take the two things that we've been talking about and putting them together. We've been talking kind of about some crime perspective.
Yes.
We've been talking about some political perspective. And I know you think about politics sometimes, and I know it crosses your mind.
Right.
Do you think that we as a community get involved enough in politics? Like, one of the things that comes to my mind is when I talk about politics, especially on the radio, and I talk about people getting out to vote, and I say to people, everybody's worried about these big races, but the bottom line is this: the judges that sit on the bench are the people that have more impact on your life than some of these other races.
But they're not the sexy ones. They're not the Barack Obamas running and it's on CNN and you know, all these other things. So I think people are, they're somewhat apathetic. They don't think it's important, and then when they have to hire me, they go in front of a judge who has no idea about their circumstances at all. And it's tough because, you know, you want someone. I practice in front of a lot of judges, and I think the majority of them do a very good job. But I do think that sometimes there's a gap that must be bridged, a bridge that must be gapped, a gap that must be bridged, a gap that must be bridged with respect to explaining the background of your clients to some of these folks. Because if you have a client that lives in a socioeconomically depressed area and they're doing certain things to get by, not that any of us are condoning it, but you can understand.
There are certain realities.
You live in some pearly gates and, you know, high up on the hill. Can you understand it? So the only way that we as a community can have our voice heard is to vote. Because I can tell you now, at criminal court, where I practice here in Allegheny County, I don't think there are any African-American judges. I think we have, what, 13 to 15 judges? Joe Williams, my mentor.
I was going to say Judge Williams.
Yeah, he's my mentor. I love Joe, Judge Williams. He went over to Orphans Court. Elliot Housey just came on, but I'm not sure where Judge Housey will be located. And he's a fabulous addition, but I don't know where Elliot will go. But as far as I know, I don't think there are any African-American judges, and I do think there's something to it. I'm not saying that a white judge can't be fair, because I think that's patently false, and that's distasteful. But I do think it's something to, there is something to someone that there's a familiarity with in terms of maybe background. I do think there's something to that.
Which is very similar to the same issue we talk about in terms of jury duty.
I knew you were going to say that, absolutely.
And you and I, even on the radio, talked about, we were talking about some of the issues around jury selection in this Wilkinsburg homicide case. And I know from covering court cases, sometimes you sit in the courtroom and you listen, say, for example, to a witness who will be describing a situation or talking about something that happened. And I can look at the jury and tell sometimes they have no idea what that witness is talking about.
That's correct, because it's almost like two different languages. But let's look at when the Constitution was drafted and all these other things, and a jury of our peers. We hear it all the time. But first of all, that wasn't even true, because generally speaking, only white men that held property could be on a jury, right? So is that a jury of your peers across the board? No. I think the jury of the peers, it sounds good in theory, but it's an antiquated notion, because I think that a jury of peers means just that. If you're just for the sake of our discussion, if you're a young African-American man in his early 20s, is a peer an older white woman from, say, Bethel Park who's in her 70s? Is that a peer? I mean, let's be honest about things. And then when you challenge it, it's called a Batson challenge. Basically, there was a case where Batson made the challenge that there weren't enough people that looked like him on the community, or not a representative sample, I'm sorry, on his jury pool. I remember making that challenge in federal court once, and literally the federal judge didn't even look at me, just picked up the placard this person had and read, you know, the law, and then said, your objection is denied. Go back and pick. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Let's put it like that. I think here in Allegheny County, you know, in Allegheny County, there are 35 impaneled people, prospective jurors. So I think Allegheny County, if I'm not mistaken, African Americans make up maybe 14%. So I've never been a great math person, but that's about 3 jurors in a pool of 35, right? 2.5 to 3.
That's about right.
So a lot of the times I'll see none, and then I'll go to the judge and make the challenge, and judges will say, okay, well, you know, this is what we have at this point. Or some will say, well, we're going to try to get some from civil court and do what's right, because what's right is right. I'm not saying that just because you're not the same color, you can't be fair. But if we're going to say jury of our peers, then let's live up to what it says. If we're not, then let's change the language.
Well, and that's it. And by no means am I suggesting that it can't be fair.
Right.
But I do think sometimes that there is, I don't want to say a language barrier.
But it is.
But it's a life experience barrier.
Oh, that's good as well. It's language and life experience, because I'm telling you, you get certain people, and this could be even young and old, just people talk differently.
Yeah.
But you know, someone may not be able to conjugate their words as well as others, and if you can't speak the King's English as well as someone else, then unfortunately, right there, you can see where they're from, so to speak.
Right.
And I think it hurts. I think it hurts when you have a jury, because as much as we may not want to say it, perception becomes reality, and it can be challenging.
Indeed, yeah. I heard a witness one day say something about their whip, and I looked over at the jury, and it was like, they have no idea.
But you know, let me tell you something. That is the lawyer's job to then say, now, sir, you just said your whip. What do you mean by your correct? Because you have to be the translator.
Indeed. Interesting. I'm telling you, we need more time with Blaine Jones. We'll take a commercial break. We'll be right back.